The Centre for Creative Arts and the South African State Theatre's Artfluencing Democracy Dialogues taking place over the next 12 months. To tell us more about these dialogues, we're now joined by Ismail Mahomed, who is the Director of the Centre for Creative Arts. Mr. Mahomed, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you and to all our viewers.
Indeed. Now, first of all, give us some background into the the Artfluencing Democracy Dialogues. What's behind them and what really inspired these dialogues?
The Centre for Creative Arts is located at the School of the Arts at University of KwaZulu-Natal. Last year, we launched the Artfluencing Democracy Dialogues as a dynamic way through which we can begin to profile artists who contribute to our democracy, whether they're working through music, theatre or dance. The voices of artists in South Africa has always been used to advance social change. We know that the liberation struggle in South Africa was driven equally forcefully through our music, through our poetry, through our dance, and particularly in the years when there was such repressive censorship of the media in South Africa, that the artists' voices resonated incredibly loudly. So we believe that as we begin to reflect on our current democracy and also some of the challenges that we've experienced over the last number of years in our democracy, that the need to interrogate that through the arts and through an engaging way, which makes it easily accessible for ordinary people, this will become a dynamic platform.
Mm-hmm. Why is a sustained platform for artists and audiences alike to sort of engage with each other throughout the year so important to your organization?
Well, the Centre for Creative Arts is firmly committed to the values of our Constitution, particularly Section 16, which is about freedom of expression and freedom of creativity. We want to ensure that artists in our country are given full liberty to exercise those rights, but that in the exercise of those rights as well, how could they begin to engage our audience to strengthen our democracy? This year marks the 25th year of the adoption of the South African Constitution, but we've seen quite often how many times either legislation or conduct of politicians and so forth has been challenged in our Constitution Court, which simply means that our democracy is young, but it's also fragile. And that we can only protect our democracy if we engage citizens constantly around their rights, around our Constitution, and what the pillars of a democracy are built upon.
Yeah. Now, talk to us about the creatives that are part of these dialogues and how they form part of these of this platform.
The Artfluencing Democracy Dialogues is a partnership between the South African State Theatre and the Centre for Creative Arts. And we chose to work specifically with the South African State Theatre because over the last 20 or more years, they've been producing an incredible amount of work that has resonated with the situations in our country. For example, when the crisis of Marikana was there, they staged a play about Marikana. At the present moment, they've staged productions like Freedom, which deals with the way young people are beginning to experience the democracy and whether they feel robbed by their freedoms and so forth. So the State Theatre has also built a strong archive of work. And what we try to do with selecting on a monthly basis some of the works that the State Theatre has produced, we try to critique that work, we try to put it within context of the current situations and also in terms of where those works fit in with the values of our Constitution. Although we work very, very strongly with the South African State Theatre on this project, we are keeping our radar open to also look at work that is happening by artists across the country, so that we can begin to amplify what artists are doing in terms of building and strengthening our democracy.
And these dialogues will be researched and produced by a team of young interns. Tell us more about these and who these interns are.
Well, the Centre for Creative Arts is cognizant that we have a great deal of youth unemployment in our country, and particularly amongst young graduates.
Yeah.
So we've taken the bold and courageous step this year to engage 10 young interns who are all new graduates, who range from first degrees to master's degrees, and to provide them with a year-long employment at our office, during which time they would begin to research the content for this particular production. So the thinking around that is that whilst they're still fresh out of the university environment and still are able to research and connect with the academy and so forth, to be able to bring that particular strength in, but to be able to allow them to be able to work with the arts sector so they begin to understand the dynamics of our cultural and creative industries, and hopefully after a year would probably be a little more prepared to be able to be catapulted into a complex and competitive creative and cultural economy.
And how, in your opinion, can the arts contribute meaningfully to address contemporary social-political issues?
Well, the arts have always been at the forefront of speaking for social justice.
Sure.
Whether that is about oppression or where, as we've seen in the heydays of the market theatre before 1994, where productions such as Woza Albert, Asinamali, Bopa, Serafina, the works of Malcolm Perkins, Sophia Town, District 6 in Cape Town and so forth, have been at the forefront of reflecting our contemporary society. In a post-1994 society, we've also seen new plays come up about gender-based violence, which is one of our biggest scourges. We've seen productions about xenophobia. We've seen a number of productions that deal with issues of corruption. But we also deal with a number of productions that have dealt with the young people's fears, anxieties, and frustrations with the failures of leadership in our country. So a production like Fees Must Fall, which dealt with the whole movement of student protests against the educational system and about exclusion within the educational system, is for us more than just a play or a production. It is in a very, very strong way also an archive and a record of where things have been or are happening within our contemporary society in South Africa.
And in addition to the arts as as a form of social justice of some sort, you've alluded to, it's also a vehicle, I suppose, for livelihoods. And I've noticed a long-standing trend in the past few years, Ismail, about some young creatives studying the arts at tertiary institutions, but then going on to gainful employment because they don't understand that you can actually live off the arts, and the arts can actually be a source of your income.
Absolutely. The arts has changed dramatically. Previously when one said to one's parents that you probably want to go into the arts, there was always a concern about, just how much of work is there going to be for you in theatre.
Right.
But the fourth industrial revolution has opened up a whole new environment for young creatives to work in. We're seeing more and more young people working in the digital space, creating, innovating, and so forth. But I think the essence of the arts is not just only about entertainment. Mm-hmm. The essence of arts is about problem solving, it's about creative thinking, it's about driving solutions, and so forth. And if there's anything that's required more in our young democracy and also in our economy, it is innovation, it is problem solving, it is creative thinking. And anyone who receives a arts-based education, along with maths, sciences, and economics and everything else, will end up being a much more rounded human being. But the arts also teaches you to understand the qualities of what being human means, and it simply means that you end up becoming a much more transformed employee within an employment sector.
Right.
And if one begins to look at the contributions that people who've obtained an arts education make to society, it is invaluable. They end up being, philanthropists. They become contributors to society's growth, and they're constantly aware and conscious about the issues of justice within the workspace and also
all right,
within
Mr.
society.
Mahomed, unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. This is such a brilliant initiative. So how do artists and members of the public take part in these dialogues?
They could join our Facebook page at the Centre for Creative Arts at UKZN, or also join us on our YouTube channel or on our website. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mahomed, lovely chatting to you. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was Ismail Mahomed. He's the director for the Centre for Creative Arts, speaking to us about a monthly online program to drive participatory engagement about the arts, human rights, social justice and democracy.